chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
After the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descending from heaven came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes white as snow. For fear of him and the guards, they shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid. I know that you're looking for Jesus who is crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised, as he said. Come, see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has been raised from the dead. And indeed, he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them and said, "Greetings!" They said to him and they came to him and took hold of his feet and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers and sisters to go to Galilee, because there they will see me." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Grace to you and peace from God the Father, from Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen.
You may be seated. Like many of you, I've experienced earthquake tremors. I've never been in like a real earthquake where the building shook and stuff came down, fell off the walls and ceilings crushed. I've never been in an earthquake where the ground actually opened up and it's been that scary. As a matter of fact, I've slept through many tremors and didn't even know about it until the next day. It's all in the news. You know, it's kind of a bounce back from some other earthquake. And that's enough for me. I don't need to be in one of those big ones. I understand how the ground shakes. I've seen enough Hollywood productions to know how it works. And I don't want any part of that. But with that being said, it is no surprise to me that the ladies who went to the tomb this morning were scared. Because in the first place, we had this wonderful earthquake. And you know, Israel isn't quite as aggressive for earthquakes as California either. And so there's this earthquake in the first place. And then in the second place, now we have this huge bolt of lightning with a flash, and this fellow shows up, white as snow, rolls the stone away, and then he has the audacity to hop up and sit on top of the stone. Who wouldn't be afraid? We first have an earthquake, now we have this lunatic in with bright light sitting on top of the stone where Jesus was. That would be terrifying, I think, on so many levels. And if you don't think so, stay with that passage for just a few minutes and put yourself in their place. It'd be horrible. But they didn't run. And I think part of the reasons they didn't run is because this wasn't the first surprising thing they had seen. They had been following Jesus for a long time, many of them since the beginning of his ministry. In Matthew's gospel, that is significant because a follower of Jesus is a disciple of Jesus. They're the same word, they're synonymous. So as disciples of Jesus, they were the ones who followed him. They had seen the miracles of feeding the 5,000, you name it, they saw it. They saw things they never would have imagined possible. But they also saw something horrible just a couple of days earlier. They also saw the gruesome, terrifying death of their teacher, their master, their Lord. And you can just imagine, pick anyone on this earth that you truly love, that you really love, and imagine them in that position. Then imagine how you might feel for just a moment. Well, they went through all that. They went through all those emotions, and except for the beloved disciple in John's gospel, they're the only people who were there as far as followers. And so these women were there when Jesus was crucified and these horrible things happened. They were there. So they were witnesses to a lot of stuff, to the miracles, to the crucifixion, and now all of a sudden to this flashing light and this earthquake. And they didn't run. I find that fascinating. I find it fascinating that they had such faith and they believed what the angel said. Now, I don't know if you picked up on this, because I hadn't always picked up on this until not so long ago. The way it's worded is the angel says first, this is interesting, The angel said first, I know that you're looking for Jesus, the crucified one, but he's not here. He's been raised. And he said he'd meet you in Galilee. But the angel opened the door anyway. But it wasn't to let Jesus out. He was already out. It was to let the women in so they could see. That's significant in Matthew's gospel. So the stone is rolled away, not to let Jesus out. He's already out. But it's to let the women in so they can see that the stories, they might be true. What happens if they are true? This certainly looks like they're true. And so then they finally do leave, and they're running along, and they're going to go tell the other disciples what they had seen. And then the most beautiful scene, all of a sudden, in the midst of the earthquake, the flashing light, the empty tomb, the angel, the guards who are paralyzed, all this crazy stuff happening all at once. Suddenly, in the midst of all their fear and joy in this particular text, fear and joy, suddenly, in their pathway stood Jesus. And did you notice they recognized him right off? They knew who he was. He knew who they were. They knew each other in the resurrection. I think that's important. I'm questioning about that all the time. The only thing we know about life after death is the resurrection text. And this is one of those significant, important ones. And to me, the most significant and important part of this is that we will recognize each other in the resurrection. Some people think death is forever, we're cut off, we'll never see each other again in heaven, or on any plane or level, whatever you want to call it. But Jesus did. Jesus recognized the disciples, and the disciples recognized him. Now, the significance of that is that he had a message. Go and tell what you've seen. This wasn't ever intended to be a proof text. It's not a proof text for Christianity. It's not an apology, which is like a defense of Christianity. That is not what this gospel lesson is. This gospel lesson is all about proclamation. He is raised, and he's been raised for you, and some of you, and you, and for me, and for all of us. And what that means, and I think we sometimes forget this part. What that means is we've been set free from all that sin and from all that death. And if death no longer has a hold on us, if death no longer calls the last shot, if death is no longer the one that keeps us stifled in a way out of God's presence, if death no longer has that kind of power, then what else might be true? What else might be true? If the resurrection is partly about that, and we're going to be looking at this more and more, of course, but for today, if it is partly about that, then it seems to me that they have a pretty strong message to share with the disciples when they finally run into each other. And seeing Jesus kind of cinched it for them. Now, I think it's important. Let's pull this up a couple thousand years. I think many of us experience earthquakes. I think many of us in our lives. I think that many of us have tremors that rattle us and shake us. I think many of us, all of us, have one point or another in our life when things are just so bright and out of control, we feel blinded. We can barely see. We can't even hardly see the hand in front of our face, much less the next day or the next step or what are we going to do now. And the angel said, I've got good news for you. He's risen. Which means, if the stories are true, that means he didn't abandon us. That means he is here among us. That means that when we do have earthquakes and when we do have, thunderstorm, bright lights, when we have financial crisis, when we have, relationship crisis, when we have whatever crisis, just pick one. Whenever we have any kind of crisis, any of those, and on and on and on, then remember this text. Really, I want you to hear this. Remember this text. In the middle of the earthquake, these women were in one of those spots. I mean, think about that. They were in the spot where they saw someone they dearly loved, gruesomely killed, and now that they see that he's alive, now think about that for just a minute, and just imagine. In the midst of all their terror, and in the midst of all their fear, in the midst of all the stuff that's going on around them, Roman guards, for crying out loud, they could just as easily spare them as not. With all this stuff going on, guess who's present there with him? Now, you need to know in the Old Testament, in the Old Testament, earthquakes often symbolize God's presence. So what we have is in the midst of all this stuff, we have somehow, some way, somewhere, God's presence among us. And, who knows? There may be an angel there among us. And who knows? We know suddenly there will be Jesus among us. God among us. The whole works. There's power in that. There's power in knowing that whatever life throws at us, not just today, but tomorrow or the next day, that we think we can't handle, and probably most likely we can't, because we're human beings, and there's a lot of stuff in this world we can't handle. Sometimes all you have to do is turn on the news and know, I can't handle this. But what you can handle is the fact to know that in the middle of what it may seem, and whatever's going on, all that noise in the background, there are angels among us. I don't always preach this stuff. It's kind of, But more importantly, there's God among us. And most certainly there's Jesus among us. That's partly why we gather Sunday after Sunday. That's partly why we gather for special circumstances and special observations. Because we need to remember that it is God's presence that will calm the earthquake. It is God's presence who will get us through whatever the crisis is. It is God who claimed us as God's child, and God never abandons God's children. We need to remember that probably more important than all of that put together is that death, destruction, fear, and horror will never have the last word. In the midst of all this human horror, that suddenly there's God who stands in stark contrast to all that human sin, and it is called new life. New life. I don't even like the word regenerated. I like resurrected. There is resurrected life. There's resurrection on the other side of this death. There is new life. And sometimes it doesn't, we can't even see it for ourselves, and let that be okay. We're only human. God knows that. But I promise you, because I know it from experience, somewhere along the way, you're going to have a God moment where in the midst of your earthquake and trembling and opening ground, and you're about to fall in the pit, suddenly you're going to see a hand reach down and grab you. And you're going to be surprised probably at the face whose hand it is. But just know at that moment in time, that is the hand of Jesus. Lifting you back up, saying, okay, we're going to do this together. That is resurrection. That is the Easter promise. New life in the midst of earthquakes and lightning and fear and terror. There is new life. There is a life that is grounded in God. There is life in Jesus who came back for us, even though we killed him. There's new life, and there's hope in knowing that this Jesus is among us and dwells with us in spite of ourselves. Amen? Amen. May the peace which passes all human understanding keep all of our hearts and all of our minds in Christ Jesus our Lord.
Amen.